Well, good evening, friends. I guess we better get the mic over here a little further. Get that out of the way. How we doing on audio? Everything checking out okay? 1, 2. Yeah, good. We're in good shape. Hi, everybody. How's your Tuesday going? We'll go over to the chat here in just a minute. But I just wanted to say welcome. And I need to make one little tweak here. Let's see now. Check, test, 1, 2. Okay. Looking good. Still figuring out a few things with the new little widget here for the streaming. Yeah, I think we'll have a good night tonight. I do have a couple questions that came in that we'll be talking about. And then, of course, your questions are always welcome over in the chat window. You can submit your questions in advance. That sometimes is helpful, particularly if it's a complicated question. And that's at trbolin@gmail.com. Audio is low. Thank you, sir. We'll bring her up here just a little bit, and let's see. Check, test, 1, 2, 1, 2. How's that? Is that a little better? Let me check over here on this. Let's see. Check, test, 1, 2, 1, 2. How's that? Is that a little better? I might have to tuck the mic in a little more. I've been working on a video for the last week or so on spring maintenance, how to do your spring startup, get your rig ready for spring, and more volume. Okay, let me see here if I can go fix this real quick for y'all. Let's see here, sound settings, microphone, that. Check test. There we go. Now it's a little too hot. Let me bring it down just a touch. Okay, so how's things now? We'll get this set up. That looks like it's probably pretty good. How's the sound now, folks? Okay, great. So, thanks for the technical support on the backside there. Let's go over to the chat window and see who all's here. If you're just joining, be sure and drop a comment over in the chat window and let me know where you're watching from tonight. And, of course, if you have a question, drop it over there, and we'll get to it. Let's see. Tom Downey's in, and John Besmick is in. He's still in Florida, avoiding the cold north. I don't blame you. We turned off and got cold real fast, too. Rich is in from Germany. Good morning, Rich. Then, excuse me, E Squared's in from Michigan. Hi, E Squared. Yeah, you know, those inner dualies are such a pain. At one point when I put the tires on Rusty, the RV, the new tires on, I guess it had been 4 years ago now, something like that. I had long valve stems put in, and I'll be danged if within 60 days both of those valve stems had leaked, and I had to get it fixed in a small town. Couldn't get long valve stems, and so I'm kind of back to the short ones. They're long enough that you can at least get air in the tires, but yeah, it's a total pain. And those extensions, I've had nothing but trouble with those valve stem extensions, so I give up on those. Let's see who else is in tonight. Judy is in from Alabama. Hi, Judy. Jeff Riplinger's in from Littleton. Yeah, Jeff, I'll match you there. It's currently 7 degrees here, and it feels like 12 below because the wind's blowing 17 miles an hour. We went from a beautiful weekend, beautiful for February, to about 2 inches of snow this morning, and expected to be close to the, we're not supposed to get over 20 degrees until at least Saturday. It's just a friendly reminder from Mother Nature that it is not spring yet. It's still 2/22/22, which, by the way, is a palindrome. And in fact, I think every date between now and the 25th or 26th, something like that, is a palindrome. So backwards and forwards, they read the same. Let's see who else is in. Eric Myers is in, Southwest Arizona. That's a good place to be. I'll take cool and windy southwest Arizona over cold and freezing Idaho or Colorado anytime. And of course, George, a.k.a. Dad, has to rub it in. He's down in La Belle, Florida, where it's a balmy 72 degrees at 9 p.m. and Judy's at 69 at 8 p.m. Are you Central Time or are you in Eastern Time, Judy? Let's see. Got the audio cleaned up there. Hi, Wanda Rutledge from Florida. So nice to have you here. KX Racer from the Pocono Mountains in Pennsylvania. Who, by the way, KX Racer just put up a new video last week. He's, as I think I mentioned last week, if you weren't here, go over and check out his channel. He's kind of a fun guy. He's working on a truck camper himself right now, and he's just starting to put his aluminum siding on. He had some kind of hairy helpers. I wasn't sure what to think about that. Yeah, I'm teasing you, kid, okay? Ken Miller's in from Hockley, Texas. Roundtown Scouters still down in Carlsbad for the winter. Tom says it's below 22 degrees. Yeah, that'll be our high for like tomorrow. Vincent RV Life is in from Panama City Beach. Again, another bragger at 79 degrees. George, a.k.a. Dad, says just got back from the Bell Merchants block party kicking off Swamp Cabbage Week. Okay, sounds like fun. Judy says she's in Central. Okay. OTYB, Vum, Og, goodbye. Good night. You're gone. See ya. Those are spammers, and if you see those comments, I try to catch them pretty fast. Kittens. Kitten helpers. And then, Jean Duclos? Duclos? That's a French name, so usually the last syllable is silent, so Duclos. From Cary, North Carolina at 66. That's nice. It's 0 degrees in Colorado. Yeah, Lola. Jeff is in from Littleton, and he was saying it's like 3 degrees there. So, okay, let's get over to a couple of questions that came in. I'm just going to read these to you because I'm not set up to share my screen properly, I don't think. Well, let's give it a try here. Let me see if I can do this. Come on. Where am I? I lost my monitor. Where'd it go? Okay, it's over here. Sorry. Sorry, folks. No, that wasn't it. It must be this one. Ah, okay. Well, I think you can kind of read that, but I'll read it to you. This is regarding the Splendide washer. I put up a video. Gosh, this video has been up quite a long time ago. Quite a long time, I should say. And I hope Cheryl is able to get in, and if not, hopefully they'll be able to catch us on the replay. Excuse me, Southern Spirit for Life catches it on the replay. But anyway, he says he's at his wits' ends with his Splendide 7100 XC. So what we're talking about here are the combination washer-dryer units that Splendide makes. And they're a common addition to RVs, particularly Class A's, when you're not wanting to do like a stackable. So anyway, to go on here, he recently bought a new motorhome about 9 months ago for their ranch waiting for construction of the home. For the past 9 months, the washer and dryer was working flawlessly until the last 2 weeks. Keep in mind, the RV is not moved or anything has changed. The washer will finish the wash cycle, the rinse cycle spinning at high speed, and then add fresh water, again rinse. And at this point where I'm having the trouble, he says the washer will spin for 3 seconds. You can hear the door latch click a few times really fast, and the lock red indicator light goes off and on when the clicking sound starts. That's a bad sign, okay? The water pump will purge, then low heat, extra rinse, low spin, green flashing lights all at the same time, and the red lock indicator flasher faster than all 3 green lights. So he called Splendide, tried to get help. The first guy was so rude, he did not let me explain what was wrong. He kept cutting me off, tried to overtalk me every time I spoke, and told me the problem is not the washer, it is my RV. All right. He called back the next day. Another technician told him he had an error code F10, and F10 is the problem I was solving with my Splendide. By the way, I had a WD 2100 that is the equivalent to the Splendide 7100. They're almost exactly the same models with the same computer controller. Anyway, the long short story goes that an F10 is usually a board problem, so they sent out a new board. He said he installed the board and has the same problem. He called back. And another technician told me to use generator to power the washer and ground the generator and ground the washer. Okay, well, that guy might be onto something other than the whole generator thing is just like, that's just like pure craziness in my mind. But the ground thing has me thinking. And he says he had an F13 code, same flashing lights, doesn't see why that method will fix anything, but he went ahead and tried it out. I suspect that it didn't. After trying that, the technician's still having the same problem. Another technician told him this, so here he is. He's in that death spiral. The technicians don't know what to do. If it doesn't fall into their specific cue sheets of, do this, do this, do this. You've all been through this whole technical support thing where you get the guy that doesn't know, beep from Shinola, and you go around and around and around. But he said something. He said that to cut the power plug from the washer and install an Edison plug. Well, they already have an Edison plug on them, I believe. At least mine did. And all an Edison plug is one with a ground. Anyway, so he's been around and around and around on this. And it definitely sounds like a grounding problem. So I think probably what what you're going to have to do is get an electrician out to look at your power coming into the RV and make sure you've got a good solid ground. That can cause all kinds of heartburn with electronic equipment. Now, why would it start all of a sudden? Well, you've been sitting there for a while. I'm assuming the power's been installed for a while. Maybe something changed. Maybe something came loose. There could be any number of things. But this definitely sounds like a power issue to me, and it sounds like a ground problem. And tracking down ground problems can be a huge headache. So it would be really great if he was on here, because then I could ask him a few questions. With that not being able to happen, which is why I love doing this live stream, so we can interact and I can continue to drill down into a problem. This sounds to me like a ground problem, and you're just going to have to trial and error this out. Unfortunately, the company may not be that good. I think their washers are great, but a lot of companies have great products and sucky technical support, sucky post-sale support, I should say. So I would get an electrician out, and I would have that electrician go through your power pedestal and make really sure that all your grounds are good, that you don't have any loose connections, that your neutral is good, that your power cable connections are all good, because and it could have been something in the RV, since it's a new RV, 9 months old. There could have been another issue going on there. These are probably one of the hardest problems to solve when it comes to troubleshooting things, are electrical problems like this. I always recommend that you start with a good, solid ground. Get your grounds in order. I think the one technician that was suggesting that you do a bunch with the grounding might have been onto something. It could be low voltage problem. So that's why I say you probably need to get an electrician out to check out your power, the source of your power at your pedestal, and make sure that it's working properly. Because electrical problems will mess with equipment like that, and they're really difficult to diagnose. So I wish I could give you more authoritative answer, but that's what I could tell you right now, not being able to ask you any questions specifically about your situation. I hope that helps. While I'm thinking about it, if you'd like to give me that thumbs up, I always appreciate those. If you're not subscribed, please do subscribe. Ring the notification bell. I'm going to move this back so I don't bump it. And that'd be great, because we're here every Tuesday night and 7 p.m. Mountain Time, and we'll answer your questions as they come in. I'm going to slip back over here to the chat window. Looks like, okay, good. Thanks, Gene. Tom Downey, don't use the hoses installed on Interdual. Yeah, that's a good point. The image is out of focus. Well, it's a fixed camera. Let's see here. What do you think of this? Does this make me look young? All right, hopefully that cleared it up a little bit. That's I'm still tying flies, and this is deer hair, black deer hair. I was tying some black caddises. That's a good one too, Tom. I'll get to you in just a minute, Melissa. Pull the washer and run it on good power. Yeah, so try to run an extension cord out to your pedestal, plug it in there, and run it straight on an extension cord. That helps eliminate one thing, that it's something in the RV. But it definitely sounds like a power issue to me. Melissa Brown asks, Melissa Brown Walls asks, any way you can put a regular water hose on the outside shower connect? You know, I'm not so sure that the thread where the shower hose connects to the faucet will not fit a regular water hose. Have you tried it? Be careful, because if it's plastic and you have that water hose coming out and you put any strain or pressure on that water hose, you're going to break that connection, because those are not that tough, especially when you put a water hose on. They're okay if you have the shower hose, because you know it's pretty light. But if you put a water hose on there and you yank on it too hard, you could break it, and that would be a drag. They're not terribly expensive, those faucets. In fact, I have a video on my channel where I replaced one of those a couple years ago. They're not terribly expensive, but yeah, I'm not so sure those threads won't fit a regular water hose. If they don't, I don't know where you would find an adapter. You might be able to rig something up using like the shower hose, and maybe like you know, get a 1/2-inch hose end. Like you can get the hardware store that you can, you know, work down into that shower hose and put a regular hose type connection on it. That would probably work. You wouldn't get a lot of water pressure out of that. You wouldn't get a lot of volume, because you're going, you know, down to about 3/8 of an inch on that outlet. But you might try that as well. That might get you there. So I hope that helps, Melissa. You're very welcome. Yep. Yeah, pull the plug, run it on an extension cord. Yeah, it sounds like an electrical problem for sure. And you know, again, they're really tough to figure out. KX Racer asks, why is most camper drain plumbing ABS and not PVC? Well, I don't know, because everything to the tank in my Class A, and let me think, is it in my truck camper, is it ABS or PVC? In my Class A, it was all PVC, then it was ABS from the camper, or from the tank to the drain point. In the truck camper, is it ABS? I don't know. I think it's just preference from the manufacturer. PVC typically is used for, you know, the connections to like the soil stack, the main stack. And then you'll see ABS from the soil stack. Where's Rich Trethui when you need him, right? He might know that answer. But that's a good question. I don't know, KX Racer, why they use ABS, other than by convention, most sewer lines are ABS. And that's not even really true if you think about it, because this plumbing from your sink in your house and those sorts of things is all going to be PVC, or can be PVC. Yeah, I don't know. I got to think it's probably just preference on the manufacturer's part. Also, you got to keep in mind that, you know, our campers are old. You know, yours is from the 70s, mine's from the early 90s, and things changed over the years. And I think back in the 70s, ABS was cheaper than PVC. Tom, you might know that. You're an old guy. I also lived in the 70s, so I shouldn't talk, but I have to tease Tom. Linda's in, Camp Gora 1. Hi, Linda. So nice to have you here. Eric Meyer asks, how to put a hose fitting on freshwater tank to drain. You should have a low point drain on that tank. Typically, most suppliers provide a low point drain. And what I would do is I would just get a hunk of old garden hose and a couple hose clamps, and I would just find where that drain port is, and I would just put the hose on it with a piece of rubber hose, whether it be old garden hose or you know, clear plastic hose that is the approximate right size. But usually there's going to be a low point drain somewhere on that freshwater tank, so you can drain it out for maintenance purposes. And I think you could easily put a regular hose on there, using hose clamps, because what it's going to be, well, it could be that you have a rubber hose coming off the stem on the tank, but there's going to be a hard plastic stem, a hard plastic fitting is the word I'm looking for, into that tank, and then it may go to a rubber hose from there to the drain below the body of the RV itself. But yeah, you should be able to just connect right to that with hose clamps and a hunk of garden hose or plastic hose, rubber hose, whatever you happen to have. That should work just fine. Okay. Gene has a question here. He says they have an '07 National Dolphin with the fantastic fan vent. Being that old, are they worth resuscitating? Yeah, as long as the motor turns good. You can get all the parts for those, including motors. A new fantastic fan, depending upon which one you get, could run you anywhere from about $190 to about $280, $300. If you want to go whiz bang and get Bluetooth and all that junk, you can spend a lot of money on them. I think that's overkill. Sorry about that. But yeah, I think it's probably worth it. If everything, if the bones are good. So if the hinge is good, if the mechanism's good, I'm not sure if yours is an automatic opener type, or it has the rain sensor. Being in that age, it probably has the rain sensor. It's probably automatic opening type. Probably has thermostatic control. And if all those things are working, and all you need to do is like replace the outside cover, which is really common. Those outside covers are easy to change, and they're inexpensive. $15, $20, $25, depending upon if you get a smoked plastic one or a clear plastic one. I don't recommend the clear plastic ones, by the way. I do recommend the smoked ones, because there's nothing more annoying than sitting at the kitchen table and having a bright light coming in through your vent, blinding you. So I think they're probably worth resuscitating, as long as the bones are good, as long as it's not leaking. The frame's good, the hinges, the pivots are all good. Yeah, I think you're probably okay to rebuild that. But yeah, and then all the parts are readily available as far as I know. If you need parts, you can check out recpro.com. That's RECPRO.com. They have parts, a lot of parts for that kind of stuff. And you'll get a 5% discount if you'll drop TR Bolin at the checkout code. They'll give you 5% discount. I'll get a very small commission, but you'll pay the exact same price. And every little bit helps. But yeah, I wouldn't hesitate to rebuild a fantastic fan that was in good shape. Kemp Gore 1 says, I drained all the old water out of my RV heater tank, water heater tank, I'm assuming, out the side of my rig. Is there anything to do now? Maybe clean it? Yeah, I'm assuming you drained it by pulling the sacrificial anode. That's the word I'm looking for. They're typically in the bottom. You pull them out, it'll help drain the water out. Just take your water hose and flush it up and in there. Because what's going to happen is there's going to be calcium and hard water scale and stuff that's going to be sitting in the bottom of the tank. And if you just take your water hose with a sprayer on it, excuse me, or just a plain water hose, boy, I'm just full of gunk tonight, and spray it up in there, and just flush it out a little bit. Oh, you just did the valve thing. Okay. That's the pressure relief valve. Those are typically at the top, though. Was there a valve at the bottom of that? Either way, you want to run some water through it. So you could do it one of two ways. Just hook up the fresh water to your rig, open that valve that you opened to drain it, and just let it run for a while. And that will help flush out a lot of the scale that might be in there. But keep in mind that if you got a big chunk of that scale in there, it might kind of plug up the valve a little bit. So get yourself a piece of wire, like a piece of clothes hanger or something like that. You might have to, poke that clothes hanger up in there to kind of move the scale out of the way a little bit to help it clear out. But yeah, you want to flush the water heater after you drain the water. Oh, okay. So Tom says he uses he uses the hose from the washing station to the hose to wash the windshield. Now that's a good call. Okay, Gene. Yeah. So if it's all good and it's all working, then I would say yeah, you could fix that up. Yeah, YouTube has a video on how to repair. Okay. Linda says, Scar, you can't go one. Not sure her friend showed her. Okay, she'll try that. And let me just zap this. This troll that's in here. Okay, thank you. We'll get rid of that. Okay, so if you have any questions, be sure and throw them over there into the chat window, and I'll be happy to answer your questions. I'm going to slip over here and pick up this other question that came in, and unfortunately, this one came in a while back from William Glotz. He was in Chisholm, Minnesota, wondering where the brake fluid reservoir is on a Damon Intruder 1994 454 32-foot Class A, and then how to reset oil life if needed because the service engine light and brake warning light came on moving in Texas. They're actually in Texas. Okay, so the brake fluid reservoir on those old Chevy 454 P-Series chassis are in the front. Usually in the front, either there's like a hood, so you can pop the hood up, and if you look in there, the brake fluid is going to be, if you're looking at the front, it's going to be on your right, in towards the fender side, but it's underneath that hood or the grill, if you will, on the front of those. As far as to reset the oil life and those things, the only way I know how to do that is with an ODB2 code reader. Since that's a Chevy chassis, it's basically, well, it's even pre-Spartan. It's pre-Workhorse too. But ODB2 code reader will give you the opportunity to reset that. It sounds like they're brand new to wintering, and I don't blame you. Getting out of Minnesota to Texas is a good call. They've had really good luck down there, it sounds like. He says they free camped on a beach at Port Lavaca and then moved to RV parks in Rockport, Donna, Weslaco, Isla Blanca, on Padre Island, and ending in Alamo, Texas. Haven't seen snow for the first time in 60 years, but gone home in April, so sure to see some going home. Yeah, William, you probably will see some going home. All right. KX Racer, he says he has the AIMS 2500 watt inverter charger. The manual says it has some protection from shore power issues. Do you think I should buy a 30 amp surge protector or just rely on the inverter? I recommend that you put the surge protector in. The inverter, okay, so most inverters work as a pass-through device. And what I mean by that is that when you have your inverter turned on, all your shore power is going through that inverter to your outlets. And it's like a big UPS, uninterruptible power supply. In the event that your power drops, the inverter will pick up and it will provide the power. And in my RV, several times the power's gone out and I haven't even known it until my batteries start screaming at me because they're getting low, because I've been off of shore power for 2 or 3 hours and I didn't even know it. I was at Blackfoot Reservoir, not far from here, 2 springs ago, and happened to remember it was my birthday. I was down there visiting Ron Bunge and Terry, his partner, and I was watching TV. It was cold, so I had a space heater going. It was snowing that day, as a matter of fact. But all of a sudden, my battery started beeping at me, and I realized the power was out. Well, my power wasn't out. I just got up and started the generator, and everything was good to go. Okay, so the protection that it's offering you is probably not going to be robust surge protection. If you're going to have electronic devices, flat screen TVs, you're going to take your laptop, have a microwave, anything like that, yeah, they can be susceptible to surges. And yes, the 30 amp surge protectors are definitely worth the investment. And they're not that expensive. So yeah, I would say you're going to get a little protection from the inverter, but it's not going to protect you from big charges, big spikes. And that's really where you need the protection. It's like from lightning strikes, like large surges, changes in load. And that's really common, particularly in older RV parks. The power quality can be all over the place. And so that surge protector is cheap insurance. So yes, KX Racer, I would for sure put in a surge protector in addition to your inverter. JB Lawn Care has a solar question. I disconnected my lithium batteries from the RV, but left the 4 connected, turned off breakers for solar panels and charge controller. Just to reverse the steps in the spring? Yes. Let me read that again just to make sure I understand the question. Disconnected from the RV, but left 4 connected. Okay. Turned off the breakers for the solar panels and the charge controller. Just reverse the steps in spring. Yeah, turn the charge controller on first, then turn on your solar panels. Around Town Scouter says, check out National RV Training Academy, today's YouTube sanitizing RV water heater, summarizing your RV series. Yeah, I'm actually putting a video out this Sunday with my list. Doesn't include sanitizing the water heater, but when I talk about sanitizing my water system, I include the water heater in it. But yeah, I've got a video coming out on that this Sunday too. Tom Downey says, we were worried about your cough. Well, don't worry about it, Tom. It's just the damn change of the weather. I was outside again most of the day today, and my house is so dry. The humidity has been running like 5 to 7%. I've just ordered, it's due tomorrow, a whole house humidifier. I was trying to do it with a room humidifier. It wasn't cutting it. I've actually had a little issue with my nose getting so dry that I had a bloody nose a couple days ago. And it's just, I was out in the weather a lot of the day, and this house is so dry. I think it's just that. If I can get to where I can get the humidity up into a reasonable range, I think the cough and all that will go away. Also, if the weather improves a little bit. But thanks for your concern, Tom. Don't worry about it. It's just the fact of living where I live. You being over there on Whidbey, you don't know about low humidity. You know about the opposite. Ken Miller says, you can buy a hot water cleaning wand on Amazon with a shutoff valve, connect to the water hose, flush out your hot water tank. Should be done once a year and will prolong the life of your hot water tank. Absolutely recommend doing that. And on tank type water heaters, you want to change the anode out at least every couple of years, particularly if you're in an area like you are, Linda, Camp Gora 1 down there in Arizona, where the water is very hard. Those anodes will get eaten up really fast. They're not really big in those water heaters. They're really inexpensive. And usually the way you drain your water heater is you remove that anode. They sit at the bottom of the water heater. And that allows you to do two things. One, drain the water heater, and then two, inspect that anode and try to and decide whether you can want to replace it. So yeah, that's a good point, Ken. Let's see, Lola. Okay, so Lola. Oh, she exercised. Good. And did everything work out for you? We were talking last week about exercising your batteries, particularly if you're sitting for a long time on shore power. Particularly important to snowbirds, folks that go to the same RV park and sit all winter, to exercise those batteries. And all that means is just, kill the pedestal power, kill your shore power, and run on your batteries for 15 or 20 minutes, and then go back to your shore power. And what that does is it will help prevent sulfation. In lead acid batteries, if they sit at a constant, they sit and float for a very long time, they'll sulfate, and it shortens their life considerably. Exercising your batteries is a good call. KX Racer, I recommend, just one moment here, I have one on my page. Let me run over and look at it real quick. Well, I'll tell you right now that I'm going to be installing one in Rusty, the RV, the one that Rich bought, and it's a permanent mount. And so I recommend the Surge Guard hardwired model. I found the 50. I know they have a 30 amp here. I was going to get you the 30 amp. I know that a couple of my neighbors had complained in the past about their surge protectors, the dongle type, getting stolen. In fact, my one neighbor, the last year I was in Tucson, had his all chained up. He had one of those big fancy ones, that were really expensive. And I'm not finding the built-in 30 KX. I found the hardwired 50. Just a moment here, and I think I can go over here. Let me get over here so I can monitor. Yeah, and then let me pull this out of the way. Whoops. Hang on a second there. There we go. I recommend the surge guard here. This happens to be the 50 amp. It would work just fine, you know, and it's $237. So, but I recommend the hardwired ones just because they're locked up, they're in the container with your cable, and you don't have to worry about them getting stolen. I'm sure they have a 30 amp. But that doesn't look like they have the 30 available to hardwire. Here, well, there it is right there. Okay, perfect. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to put that over on my handy items for RV owners. If you'd like to support the channel and buy it through my Amazon store, you'll pay the same price, and I will get a very small commission. That is now over on my store called Handy Items for RV Owners, and your support is greatly appreciated. By the way, you are not obligated to do that in any way, shape, or form. You can go support whoever you want. But there you go. Okay, so back to the comments. Yes, gotcha. Lola Ranch says she unplugged the RV for 30 minutes. Only fridge, water from tower, and lights worked. Is this normal? Yes. Yes. Not every outlet's going to be on your inverter because that's just the way they make them. Your primary outlets will be on your inverter. You know, things like your TV and those sorts of things, so you can watch them when you're boondocking. But yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, that sounds about right, Lola. Sounds like George has been down the road with not knowing the power was out until his gen set started, auto-started, because the battery was low. Been there, done that. Know all about that one. That is correct, Tom. They don't have surge protection. Well, they, not in the sense of high value surge protection. Like what we want surge protection for are voltage spikes, and I mean large voltage spikes, like, you know, 10, 20, 30,000 volts. Like we're talking like short circuits on the line, or lightning strikes, or the similar. The inverter will not protect you from a lightning strike. It will give you a little protection from a surge that you might see in an RV park, where the voltage goes from, you know, 112 to 118, you know, in microseconds because some large load got disconnected from the line. But yeah, they will not protect you from a surge. If you have sensitive electronic equipment, a surge protector is highly recommended. Yes. Judy says she wished she could send me some of their Alabama humidity. I wish you could too, Judy. If you can't tell, I'm really congested tonight. And it's just because this damn house is so flippin' dry. Tom says do the 50 amp protection. Actually, Tom, I think on the surge guard, their rating on the 50 and the 30 is pretty close to the same. On the 30 here, they're showing it at 2,450 joules. And on the 50, it's 3,850. So you're getting a lot more surge protection if you go to the 50 amp surge protector KX Racer. You're getting about 30% more protection, quote unquote, between the 30 amp and the 50 amp, and the difference in price is what, $70, something like that. 166 versus 237. So yeah, $60. That's it. I think You know, if you can afford it, that's good, cheap protection. And 3,850 joules of surge protection is quite a bit. That will protect your microwave, your flat screen TVs, your laptops, that kind of equipment. It'll definitely protect them. Okay, I would agree with you. Tom Downey says the solution to all illness is Crown Royal. I might agree with you, but the last time I drank on camera, that video I lost 14 subscribers. So I don't drink on camera anymore. That was back at Christmas time. Either that or it was a really sucky video, but I watched it. I didn't think it was that bad. The only thing I could figure out is because I was drinking. Okay, thanks, Linda. Nice to have you here. Oh, yes, and the anode is on the side where you drained it. JMB Lawn Care says, we like our progressive industry 30 and 50 amp. Both monitor pedestal and RV current, and both have a locking mechanism. Yeah, those progressive industry makes a good one for sure. No question about it. By the way, these surge guards do have a remote. They have a little remote panel that you can get that you can put in, and they do the same thing. They monitor, power in, whether the lines are good, whether you've got, open neutrals, open grounds, those sorts of things. It monitors all that for you too. So it's a good little, good little one for sure. Okay, let's see here. Ken Miller says, another good thing a surge protector will do is will show if your 30 or 50 amp plug is wired correctly, which will prevent damage to your rig's electronics. Yep. Yeah, exactly. And what he means by that is that your RV may be just fine, but when you plug into that pedestal, when you plug into that campground power, you don't know what you're getting. And I wintered in Golden, Colorado at Dakota Ridge RV Park there in Golden, right at the bottom of the hill as you come off of 70. And they they had meters that they came out and installed on their pedestals for you. And when the guy installed the meter, he surged my RV and blew up my flat screen TV. And we fought about that for about 3 days. I fought about it with it in the office. Oh, no, we do it all the time, blah, 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 blah. Well, I finally had to give up and go spend, another $400 on a flat screen TV. But I know damn well it was when they put that meter in that they surged my RV, and I didn't have surge protection at the time. So, yeah, I learned a lesson. Roundtown Scouter says, what's the story on aluminum, zinc, and magnesium anode rods? Well, the short story is they're sacrificial. And they give up ions, negatively charged particles, that combine with the calcium or the iron, which is positively charged in hard water, and they played out either on the anode or it stays in the water, and you've got aluminum oxide, you've got calcium oxide, you've got those sorts of things that are completely harmless to humans, okay? And it's just a matter of the manufacturer's choices on whether they're aluminum, zinc, or magnesium. They all do the exact same thing. They all produce positive ions when they're put in water, and they help protect the water heater from excessive scale, hard water building up, and those sorts of things. Agree with you, Eric. He says, Eric Meyer says, surge protection is just like auto insurance. Yeah. And Tom Downey says, low voltage is just as bad. That's correct, Tom. I actually have video of from Tucson about 3 years ago. I was experimenting with doing green screen recordings. If you watch this Sunday's video, you'll see that it is a green screen recording. It's just like the weatherman does. And I was having a heck of a time getting it to work. I had lights, I had, everything right, but I just couldn't get it to work right. And my lights were sitting there, and surging, just like, and they're LEDs. And I have voltage monitoring in the RV. I have some current taps back in the electrical compartment, and all a current tap is I'm monitoring the voltage and the current coming into the RV with these current taps. And so I went up and looked, and the voltage was clear down to 106 volts coming into my RV, which is right down at the end of where you can safely operate electronic gear. And it was because it was cold, and a lot of people were running space heaters, and the people on sharing my circuit, on the same breaker panel, if you will, as I was, we were drawing too much power, which pulled the voltage down. And you're absolutely correct. Low voltage can be just as bad as high voltage. Just one moment here. I have to get that done. Thank you. Trying to keep the spammers out. Tom Downey says, we did the 50 progressive. It protects from low voltage too. Yeah, you can actually get them that do that. You can also get, Two Feathers asks, does a surge protector protect from low voltage too? No. To do low voltage protection, you need to do what's called an autoformer. And essentially what it is it's a transformer, and it will bring the voltage up. But autoformers are banned in a lot of campgrounds anymore because they were causing trouble for everybody on the line. What an autoformer does is that it will pull more amperage to artificially inflate the voltage, which I don't want to get too technical here, but according to Ohm's law, if your voltage is low, you have to pull more amps to get the same amount of power. And by pulling more amps, you're impacting everybody downstream or everybody on the line with you. And I know that 2 different RV parks I stayed at in the last 4 years banned autoformers. Okay, they're called autoformers. They said you cannot have one, but they will protect against low voltage to a certain extent. They're also hella expensive. But yeah, I think that's probably a bit of overkill. Low voltage you might see probably, well, more often like in a hot place in the hot summer when everybody's running their air conditioning and the electrical load in the whole RV park is really high. Or again, like winter, everybody's running electric resistance heaters, space heaters, and the voltage is low, again, because there's a lot of power demand. I hope that helps. I'd be happy to talk more about this and do more of a formalized discussion of it if that's something people would like the education on. I've got quite a bit of knowledge to share about that, and if I had time, I could put together some nice graphics to show that too. 2 Feathers, well, yeah. If the voltage is low, try turning stuff off. So, a scenario: it's winter. You've got an electric space heater on. Maybe you notice your LED lights surging. Okay, and that's a sure sign the voltage is low. Maybe turn off the space heater for a little while, or turn off the air conditioner for a little while. But yeah, I mean, you can. Now, I want to say that I forgot this, and Xantrex has a hybrid inverter, and Victron does this as well. But they have inverters that protect from low voltage or high current draw by boosting up the amount of current you're getting by adding in part of the load from the inverter. So what I mean by that is let's say in your RV, I'll give you a good example. Let's say you're wintering in Tucson like I did, and I was on a 30 amp service. I have a 50 amp RV, but I lived on a 30 amp service, and it wasn't difficult at all. You just have to think that you can't run a space heater and the microwave and the coffee maker all at the same time. All right? But they make these hybrid inverters. Victrons do it. Xantrex has one. And what they do is if they see the voltage is dropping or the current is more than what you can get from the incoming pedestal, they'll supplement with power from your batteries. It's a really cool concept, and they didn't have this when I bought my inverter, or I would have bought one with this because I like the idea a lot. So that's another way you can get around that. But an autoformer might cost you $400. A new inverters with the hybrid technology could probably cost you $1,800, $2,000. Let's see here. Lola asks, two feathers, so you can unplug and then run on your inverter if you want, or to start your generator. We did the 50 progressive. It protects from low voltage too. That's what they do, is protect. Yeah. Okay. Okay, Lola. Okay. Lola says, so can use a 50 amp surge protector for 30 amp RV? Absolutely. And where on the RV do you attach the protector you showed? Well, you would put that one in line, but Lola, I wouldn't recommend that particular one for you because you really need to, that is more of a technical electrical install. What I would recommend is you get one with the cord on it. Let me come back over here and just 1 second, I'll pop one up here real quick. Don't buy cheap one. I would stick with Southwire. Is a good one. Here's a good example of one of those that here's a 30 amp. Let's see here. If I go here, I believe that gets us over there. Let me just double check. Yeah, that got us there. This type here that plug into the pedestal, and then you plug your cord in here, and then you see it's got the little display window right here in the front. Shows you your voltage, your line coming in. This is Southwire makes really good gear, and so I would recommend the Southwire. This one's not horribly expensive, $213. You could do a 50 amp on that as well. Oh, and by the way, since we're right here, we'll bring this up. Here's one of the autoformers I was talking about, and they do offer surge protection as well. But you can see here, this is $344, and if you want to go to a 50 amp, you're looking at $500 for an autoformer. So, but yeah, I'd be happy to do a lot more educating on that. If people are interested, let me know either in the comments or just kick me an email. And I could spend some more time on that in the next couple of weeks with no problem at all. J&B Lawn Care says, we stayed at a campground and it was in the 90s with 90+% humidity. They tried to find people who weren't there but had AC going all day, causing brownouts all weekend. Yeah. That's exactly what we're talking about is, when, and I don't know about the whole fining thing, I think that's kind of chicken beep. But yeah, I mean, you can't fix stupid. Sorry. If you go away all day and you leave your damn air conditioner on, that's just rude. Yeah, okay, maybe you have pets, and maybe that's what the deal was, is they had pets and they left their pets home and they wanted their pets to be comfortable. I get it. I totally get it. I've been doing this long enough to know all of the ins and outs and excuses. So, all right, more questions, comments. If you're new here, be sure and drop a note. Let us know you're watching. We love having new folks in, as well as our old friends that are usually here. But it's 8 o'clock now, and I think we'll probably, get things wrapped up here. Unless there's other questions that come in, I'll take a quick sip of this tea, this amazingly good tea I got tonight. Somebody asked me the other day what kind of tea I drank, and this is Stash. I get this at Winco. It's a employee-owned grocery store, kind of a warehouse type store, but you don't have to buy case lots. And but the prices are better than anywhere. Even Walmart, they even beat Walmart's prices. And I do a lot of my shopping there. Plus, they have a really cool bulk section, and I love to buy their like their sesame seeds, their nuts, that kind of stuff. Buying them in the bulk section is usually about 30% cheaper than buying them in the bag off the shelf. And I eat a lot of nuts. I'm a nut lover. Thank you, John, for your nice comment. He says, thanks for a great program. Learned a lot about surge protectors. Headed to Florida Flywheelers Tractor Show. Take care. Okay. You're welcome, J&B Lawn Care. So happy to have you here. Good night, John. Eric Meyer says Winco is the best. Totally agree, Eric. They've got good. Their house brands are good. We're a little off track here, but we're kind of getting towards the end anyway, so I guess it's all right. Their house brands are really good. And the house brand, their house brand vegetables and stuff like that are, their canned vegetables are, 12 to 15, 16, 18 cents a can cheaper than the Del Montes or the Green Giants or whatever. And yeah, it's a great store for sure. Thank you, Eric, or Roundtown Scouter, for the reminder. Be sure and give me that thumbs up if you're so inclined. It would be very helpful. And if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. If you'd like to support the channel in other ways, there's linked in the description to my Amazon store. And you can purchase things through Amazon. You don't have to purchase things through my store. But if you enter through my store and then you go do your Amazon shopping, I'll get credit. You'll pay the same price. And everybody comes out ahead. So thanks a lot. KX Racer says, is Winco like Costco? No, it's not. Winco is like a grocery store, except that a lot of the stuff they don't take out of the case. They'll cut the case open, but they just put the case on the shelf. So they're not all fancy faced up. Sometimes some places in some sections of the store are, but yeah, they're not like Costco. They're not like Costco in that Costco you got to buy the super gargantuan size, and sometimes I don't buy a lot of Costco fresh food. I love their frozen stuff. Some of their frozen foods are really good. If I can't buy their salads, I can't buy that kind of stuff because I can't get through it all before it goes rotten. But I buy laundry soaps and stuff from Costco, and then I buy my groceries from Winco. It's a West Coast thing. Winco, they're in Idaho, Utah, Oregon, Washington. I don't think they're in California yet, but they are in Arizona. In fact, it's kind of funny, there wasn't a store in Tucson But I would go up to Phoenix quite frequently back when Fry's Electronics, before they went out of business. That was one of my favorite stores. And there was a Fry's on the south east side of Phoenix, down by the, I think the 202 loop and I-10. And then there's IKEA was there too. And then Winco was right in that same area. And so I'd make a day of it. I'd drive up to Phoenix. I'd hit Fry's Electronics and geek out at Fry's Electronics for 2 or 3 years, or 2 or 3 hours. And then I might run over to IKEA and pick up some, IKEA stuff, and then run over to Winco and that kind of stuff. And I had a lot of friends up in Phoenix, so I'd always end up going up there for lunch or go up and play golf. I got to play PGA West up there and that kind of stuff, so it was kind of fun. Tom says he did Progressive 12 years ago. It was over 500, yeah. Tom Downey, it's better with Crown Royal. Like I said, Tom thinks Crown Royal fixes everything. He might be right, Tom. Daryl McLaughlin is in from Ontario, Canada. Hello, Daryl. It's so nice to have you here tonight. Welcome. All right. Any last-minute RV questions? Throw them over in the chat window. As a reminder, you can email them to me, trbolin@gmail.com. Visit my website. Got a new article up there about how to select the proper lithium batteries if you're in the business and shopping for lithium batteries. I don't tell you what battery to buy. I tell you how to pick the best battery. And so I think it's worth the read, trbolin.com. And you'll also see my spring startup article. There's a couple of other RV-related articles. And, well, there's many RV-related articles on my website. And I've been trying to spend more time working on that as well over the last little while. So I hope to have more stuff going up there soon. Okay. All right. I guess we'll call her good. You guys can hang out. We can chat for just a minute. But that'll be the end of the RVing content, and then we'll just sit here and shoot the breeze for a second until we call her good. And maybe we'll just lock things down and call it a night. You're welcome, KX Racer. I'm really enjoying your rebuild series, by the way, on your truck camper. Oh, I must have got distracted. I was watching. I'm going to ask you a question, KX Racer. What foam did you use? What was the thickness of the foam you used that you had to fur up all your framing? Was that 3/4 or was it thicker? 1 inch? Question mark. Because I need to get some foam for mine, and I don't really want to have to fur up the all my framing if I can avoid it. Good night, George. Thank you so much for being here. We'll see you next week. Okay. We'll wait just a minute in case there's anything else that comes up. There's usually always somebody comes in right at the last minute and has a great question. So we'll hang for just a second. KX Racer, he says, it was 1 piece of 1 inch stacked with 1 piece of 1/2 inch, both XPX foam. So you managed to get 1.5 inches in there. Wow, I'm surprised. I'm only going to be able to get 3/4 in mine from the looks of it. But it is what it is. Good night, Round Town Scouter. So nice to have you here. Take care, and we'll see you next week. Okay, good enough. Thanks again so much for everybody being here tonight. I look forward to catching up with you next Tuesday night at 7 p.m. But until then, peace. Good night.